Hi YouTube, this is Bayu here, and I'm a little bit sad because I'm reading news about Puerto Rico. For those who don't know, and not trying to be funny here, but Puerto Rico is part of the United States. It has been since the Spanish-American War. As you know, I like to give you a little bit of history. Puerto Rico, Cuba, and the Philippines uh, was given to the U.S. after the Spaniards lost their war with the U.S. Remember the San Juan Hill, that was one of the few last battles before the Spanish army surrendered. But nevertheless, the point that I want to make here is um, now, today, September 28, 9:03 p.m., early this morning, President Trump finally um, stop or cancel or what I don't know the legal term, but there is a law in the book. There is a law in the United States book called the Jones Act of 1920. It's a law, and this law prohibits foreign ships from shuttling goods from any ports of the U.S. or, by that matter, any port outside the U.S., including Puerto Rico. And today that was done this early in the morning, today 28. Now, do you remember when Puerto Rico had the strike of the Maria earthquake? About 5 days ago, going to 6. And today he just signed the order. That's because he was getting into pressure from quite a few people in the Congress, especially Senator Rubio, believe it or not, from Florida. And now FEMA, the famous FEMA, has been fired. They're not running anything in Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Army has given the mission to save Puerto Rico. Believe it or not. I'm reading this newspaper. It's the Daily Beast, which is also part of the U.S. News, the magazine. You can go on the website and read more details about it. Now, the problem that Puerto Rico has is they have 23 municipalities that are totally incommunicado. There is no phone, there is no radio, there is no power, no water, and the roads are still blocked, and then they cannot get the help, the little bit that Puerto Rico had. Now, let me go back to the second report. Look at this picture that these ladies have been waiting at the airport for since the beginning, right after the storm went by. So I think it's about 5 days. And then we have the airport manager. Actually, he has Agustin. Where is he? Agustin Arellano told the Daily News that some airlines have a waiting list of 20,000 people trying to get off the island. Okay, so we're going to leave Puerto Rico there, and I'm going to talk to you guys. This is why it's very important that you have a contingency plan. My contingency plan for leave Southwest Texas is to immediately go down to the border, go to Monterrey with 2 hours, get my first flight out of Mexico and fly to Cuba, and from Cuba fly to South America, to Ecuador. They have one daily flight. To Colombia, have one every 3 days. To Peru, they have one every, I think every 2 days. But to Ecuador, they have one, a daily flight. Now, going back to Puerto Rico. In Puerto Rico, let me give you a picture. List of the airports. On the western part of Puerto Rico was not affected by the hurricane, and we had this city called Aguadilla. Okay, right here, cameraman. So this is the city of Aguadilla, which is close to 50 or 60 kilometers from Mayagüez. Mayagüez is a big city, a lot of universities. Okay, it's a big town. close to around even a million people. I could be off a little bit, but I think it's number 2, number 3 city, right? San Juan, Ponce, and Maya West, or maybe Bayamon, but it's third, fourth big city. And look at here, they have a ferry between Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic that leave from Maya West to Puerto Plata, which is a very nice resort in Dominican Republic, and only costs $163 per person. Okay, one trip. What's that have to do with the price rise in China? What is the people waiting at the airport? Once again, I need to show you the pictures. Look at the. All of these are not Puerto Ricans. All of these are Anglos. This lady is from, I think, she's hot. You can see how mad she is. I think you've got South Carolina. North Carolina, excuse me. Richard Copeland. They have been waiting for 5 days. There is no flight because they had no power. The manager of the airport, usually they get 200 flights a day, but now they're only getting 16 flights out of Puerto Rico. Okay. People prefer to stay at the airport instead of dying on the island, as General Clerk said. Okay, back to the contingency plans that you have. I know some of you are aware of the problem that we had in North Korea. Today I was on my little bit mandatory reading and found out that 4.7 million young North Korean combat age is 18 to 50. They signed up to be volunteers for the North Korean Army. 4.7 volunteers, including those that want to serve already and those that would like to serve but they are not serving. North Korea cannot have everybody in the army. We know that. No country in the world can have everybody in the army because it costs a lot. And also I was reading that you have also a 1.5 million females that wants to be in the North Corps. Socialist country has a North Corps. We don't have that over here. We have something else, but they do have the North Corps. And they are in the front line with the soldiers. What I'm trying to tell you is FEMA has been fired in Puerto Rico. Think about that for a second. You had 23 mayors running to San Juan asking for help because nobody is helping them. Now, let's talk a little bit about Cuba. Okay? Cuba has promised to deliver medicals, doctors, and electrical workers, electricians, high power maintenance, to help with the electricity net in the whole island. But they cannot do anything early. This was done right here. This will not allow me to lie. 25th, 3 days ago. Cuba. Now let me show you this right here. Now you have the okay. This is a news that the Puerto Ricans are now desperate because they don't have water, they don't have electricity, and they don't have gas. It's nothing like that. Now I was missing one that I was reading about Venezuela. Now, this is very interesting because, as you know, we are at war with Venezuela. We already, it's not a secret, the president spoke. But Maduro was the president, which by profession he's a bus driver, by the way, so he's not a politician. He promised to send food, medicine, gas, because they have a lot of gas, but they cannot do anything because of the stupid law, 1920 law, that today, only today, September 28, the president kind of says, stop this mess, because nobody in the world can help them because of the law. So this is what I want you to understand. Let's make a crazy scenario. Let's say that we try to invade North Korea, and the North Korea has those 2 World War II old submarines. They launch one missile under the water. They have the capability. We saw that in the news, RT especially. I love RT. And they hit the West Coast. Just one. Not necessarily have to be nuclear, but a dirty bomb, as it's called, or what is the EMP bombs, the whole hell break loose. We will have a tidal wave from the west coast coming to the east coast or coming south to Mexico. Now imagine that situation. What would the people in the Midwest do? We will have probably 2 or 3 days before the tidal wave start coming to us. I'm talking about people tidal wave. And then we cannot support West Coast, all those million people moving east. It would be impossible. So again, if you know anybody outside the U.S., could be Europe, could be Africa, could be Hawaii, could be Latin America, it is time now for emergency purpose to develop a contingency plan to get out of here, because if something happens for real in the United States, forget about FEMA, forget about the Army, forget about everything that you know, that all those lies that they tell you. Oh, by the way, I was reading in this article in the newspaper that the governor in Puerto Rico has declared a curfew from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning, and they already had 31 people arrested. Now, take a look at this picture. You don't see that in airports, not even in the worst country, third world country. And they have been in that situation for 5 days. They don't even have money to eat now. Like I told you before, there is a ferry. There is a ferry that goes from the western part of Puerto Rico, from Mayagüez to the Dominican Republic. And this journey takes about 12 hours. And it costs $163. Why doesn't the U.S. government or anybody or those people stuck in the airport move to Mayagüez and get on the ship and then go to the Dominican Republic and fly out of there? The Dominican Republic is fine. The Hurricane Maria did not hit them too much. This video is basically just to make you think left, right, up and down, strategically. And as you can see in the United States, because Puerto Rico is the United States, they couldn't do it. Now the FEMA couldn't do it. The governor couldn't do it. The Puerto Rican National Guard cannot do it. So now the Special Unit, the Army is taking over. That tells you the problem. Okay guys, I'm sorry to bother you with all these international news, all these problems, but they're for real. So my suggestion is think a little bit. Don't get upset. Don't get panicking. But try to make that links. Try to make the coordination. Try to do a research and know how are you going to do it, or what are you going to do it in case that we have a real war with the North Korea. That every day it is getting closer and closer. Oh, by the way, the South Korean president just asked the U.S. Army to release the South Korean Army so they can do their own training for war. Because under the old agreement, the South Korea is part of the U.S. Army and follow the U.S. Army orders in case of war. The South Korea doesn't want that anymore. What that tells you, okay, that information, it is on the press, that you have to look and read it because it's true. Okay, YouTube, I'm sorry to give you this bad news, but I want you to think outside the box. I want you to be safe for you and your family, and I want you to start calling people, friends outside the U.S. so you are ready. And you have very close, you can make a little trip, maybe even move a little bit of money. I know I'm not rich, but I have my little place outside here. And if you have to open an account to somebody else locally, because if you're a U.S. citizen, oh, by the way, the line of the free, you cannot open an account in outside country because it's U.S. law. Call me a lawyer, but research and see what you find out. So this is the time to start thinking seriously, to start dropping the idea that the U.S. is invisible, because it's not, and to start worrying about your family, your loved ones. This is the time you have to do that, guys. Thank you for watching. If you have to say anything, leave in the comments, but you use your brain. Like I said before, this is the time for you to think a strategy. I'll talk to you later, and behave.